In this video, I want to touch on a couple of tips to help you with getting organized. The more organized you are now, the more time you're going to save in looking for those misplaced files. That can quickly add up and save time, and time is money. If you already have a system in place, then these tips may give you an idea or two, or at worst, let you know that your current system is the best one for you, and hey, there's no need to fix what ain't broke, right? As you grow your business, you may have to make certain adjustments in your organizational habits, but at least ways you'll have something to adjust. The idea here is to just do it. Begin getting organized now, and as needed, make your changes. For example, I have a certain folder structure to keep all of my website and domain details organized. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I've got set up here. One of the folders on my hard drive is called My Sites, and inside of that folder, I've got a list of every single domain that I have in their own individual folders. For example, domain X would be site-X. Domain Y would be site-Y, and so on. And inside of each one of these folders, at a bare minimum, I have 2 more folders, and then a text document that contains all the login and additional details about that domain. Now, since most all of my websites are database-driven WordPress sites, my structure might be a little bit different than what you might need. But at least ways this will give you an idea to work with. But I've got 2 folders here, one named Images and one named Backup. That should be no different than your setup. You should always have a backup, whether your websites are WordPress sites or Joomla sites or just static HTML sites. You should always have at least a most recent backup and at least one prior backup. You may find the need to have more than just one prior backup, but at the bare minimum, have 2 backups in there, the most recent and the one prior. And in my backup folder here, I've got 2 more folders, one called Database, one called Files. And since my sites are a majority of WordPress sites, I have the need for a database folder. You may not. So again, that's totally up to you. But you should at the very least have one that says backup. And I've got a folder here for images. Any and all images aren't going to be scattered about in this folder for this domain name. They're all going to be stuck in here. And after a while, I may have those images organized inside of this folder to the point where I might have all of my Photoshop or PSD images in its own folder inside of here. I might have all of my sales page images in its own folder inside of here, and so on. Now, this guy right here, this is kind of the heart of my organized files. Open this guy up, and remember, most all of my websites are WordPress sites. And of the web hosting companies that I use now, a majority of them have cPanel as the control panel. And that's why I've got this guy right here. If your control panel is something other than cPanel, then just replace this with yours. Maybe it's Plesk or something else. But for the most part, your control panel login details and your FTP login details will be the same, with the minor exception that sometimes the prefix to your FTP might be FTP dot your domain name. Or for a secure login, it might be SFTP dot your domain name. But you're always going to have a username and a password. And I've got a section up here that contains notes for my domain. Again, since most of my sites are WordPress sites, these notes here are referencing a configuration file for my WordPress site. Just a little add-on that I want to put in there. And I've got the username and the password for my administrator login details for my blogs, and the database information for my blogs, and my email addresses for that particular domain, as well as a Gmail account that I've got set up for that domain. Now, I've got this set up in addition to my email accounts for that domain because by having a Gmail account, this gives me access to Google Tools for this specific domain. And since Gmail is free, why not? Along with that, I've got a separate YouTube account for just that domain, and anything else that I might need for just that domain, I have those in here as well. Again, use this as a guide to go by. You may have a lot more in your file. You may have a lot less. But again, it's something to begin with. It's something to start off with. Now, you're also going to need a way to keep your online purchases organized. First off, for me, I write down, yes, actual pen and paper, all of my online purchases. So every evening before I head to bed, I can review those must-have purchases that have never been used yet and see if I can or need to work them into my upcoming schedule. Also, I use RoboForm to keep track of all of my passwords for the products that are purchased, for the products that are protected within a membership site, and I have a folder structure on my computer for all my purchases. Let's take a look at that. Let's go ahead and back up here. And like the folder that I have on my hard drive that says My Sites that have all these guys in there, I've got another one named Online Purchases. And you can name yours whatever you want. Again, this is just to be used as a guide to go by. And inside of here, I've got several different folders. In this case, these are niches or topics. I might have a purchase on the Warrior Forum, one of the WSOs or Warrior Special Offers. And I might have a separate folder here just titled WSOs where I might have all of those located. And inside of there, I might have the name of the purchase preceded by the date so that I can organize it by date purchased, or the name of the person that created the product. Again, totally up to you, however you're most comfortable in keeping your stuff organized. For me, since I'm a product creator, I tend to have things more niche related. So if I purchase something off of the Warrior Forum or from JV Zoo or just off the website in general, and it's niche related to AdWords or CPA or Kindle or LinkedIn, then I will put that purchase information in here. I will create a new folder just for that purchase information, and I will stick it in here, and I'll date it and put whatever other information I need that will allow me to quickly locate it. Because in Windows Explorer, I've got this little search option up here so that any keyword related to that particular purchase I can then use later on in the search function up here in Windows Explorer that will allow me to more quickly locate that particular product or that particular purchase. I should also mention that no matter how organized your files are, if they're not backed up somewhere, then you're taking the chance of losing everything. Now, at the very least, you should save your can't live without files somewhere outside of your computer, like on a thumb drive or an external hard drive. And these hard drives or thumb drives are so cheap nowadays, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not doing this, by not spending a little bit of extra money now so that you're not going to have to spend a whole lot of money and heartache later on if something bad happens to your files. Now, if you can afford it, you can get a couple of hard drives for inside your computer, similar to my setup. As you can see over here on the left panel, I've got the C drive. That's the default drive that came with the computer. And I purchased 2 additional hard drives, one that contains most all of my work and one that is specifically set up for backups. And I try to keep just the program installations on my C drive. That allows it to load faster. And all of my work and purchase downloads go into my H drive, with the exception of those guys that are downloaded to my documents or the download folders here. At which point, if need be, I will then either delete them from this or move them into one of my folders on my H drive so I can keep these guys as clean as possible. A lot of other folks do just the opposite. They'll pack up their C drive with all the same information because they don't have an additional hard drive. Again, it's totally up to you, personal preference. My main point here is to have a backup set up somewhere. Now, in closing, I want to mention that my folder structure examples and the use of Notepad works great for me. You may be fluent in using spreadsheet or mind mapping type programs, in which case you could put all the details of your domain and website files on a spreadsheet or on a mind map, and they would work 10 times better for you than in my examples. However you do it, just do it. Well, this should give you a good starting point for your own organizing structure. Remember, this is not meant to be a perfect solution, but something that can be adjusted as your business and ideas grow and change. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day. What is FTP? Well, FTP is short for File Transfer Protocol. And as we can see here, there's a whole lot of information here about File Transfer Protocol. Now, if you're familiar with working on the internet at all, you're more than likely familiar with a different protocol, and that's the HTTP. But we're talking about File Transfer Protocol in this case. And just kind of scrolling through this, there's a lot of information in here, and I got to tell you, 99% of it, most of us will never ever need to know. Look at it like this. FTP is like a bridge between your computer and your website on the internet. Now, on one side of that bridge is the server where your website is. The other end of that bridge is your computer, or what's also called the client side of that bridge. Now, there are lots of programs or software that can be used to transfer the files across that bridge. Now, some of those programs or software are free and some are not. But you really need not look any further than your own internet browser, like Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, or Firefox, to kind of test out this FTP software. Sticking with this bridge analogy, the browser method is just a one-way bridge. In other words, in most cases, you can connect to the server, but can only download from the server to your computer. You cannot upload from your computer to the server. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm in the Chrome browser right now, and let me toss in a website here that, by the way, I do not own, because for you to really have true access, that two-way traffic that I'm talking about, where you can upload and download to the server, you have to own or have permissions to that server. And I'm going to be demonstrating this using, in the first case, the Adobe website. You know, the fine folks that bring us Photoshop and Adobe Acrobat and all that stuff. Just type in ftp://adobe.com, or as in this case, I also put that ftp.adobe.com. Sometimes you need the FTP in there, sometimes you don't. But to use your browser, you have to have the prefix ftp://. And as you can see, I'm in the index of the adobe.com website, and I have access to these files here, but I do not have access to upload to their server. Now, in order for you to own and have that two-way connection, meaning being able to both upload and download from the server, you're going to need a username and password to that server. That username and password is sent to you when you purchase a web hosting package from a company like HostGator, HostMonster, Lunar Pages, or Bluehost, or actually there are a ton of hosting companies to choose from, but hey, that is a video for another day. Another FTP tool is your own computer's Windows Explorer. That is, of course, if you're using a Windows operating system and you have already purchased that web hosting package I mentioned and received your username and password. Just open up your Windows Explorer, and in the address bar, here, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Right up here in the address bar, you just want to type in ftp://. So far that's the same as it was when we used the browser tool, but now you want to type in the username that you have received after purchasing your web hosting package, the @ symbol, and then the domain.com, kind of like this. And again, this is the username that you received from your web hosting package, and then the domain name. And then you simply hit the enter key or that arrow, and it will then open up a box asking for your username and password. Again, that was sent to you from the web hosting company. Then you have that two-way access where you can both download from your server and upload to your server just by simply dragging a file from your computer into this area here. It will automatically be uploaded to your server, or you can drag the file from this area here, which is your server online, and drag it to wherever you want it to be downloaded to on your computer. Now, using your Windows Explorer as an FTP tool has one major downside, and this is the deal breaker for me. It is as slow as cold molasses. And if you aren't familiar with how slow cold molasses is, just take it from me, it's super duper slow. Now, the more popular FTP tools, or client programs as they're also called, are like Smart FTP or Acute FTP, or the very powerful and free FileZilla. But remember, no matter which FTP tool you decide to use, you're going to need to purchase web hosting, and you're going to need a domain name. Sometimes those domain names come with the web hosting package you purchased. You just got to do a little bit of shopping around. But as I mentioned earlier, that's a video for another day. This is going to bring us to an end to this video on what is FTP. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In order for you to have and build on a website, you're going to need at least two things. You're going to need web hosting, and you'll need a domain name. Now, the domain name can be the trickiest of these two because it requires you to do a little research, and even after you do the research to figure out what you want for your domain name, it may no longer be available. Like fingerprints, there are no two domain names exactly alike. So if someone else bought the name you wanted, you're just out of luck. Of course, you could try and purchase the domain name from the current owner, but that really works out in your favor without costing you an arm and a leg. For me, though, I try for a domain name that was very close to the original one that I wanted. For example, if I wanted applerecipe.com and it was already taken, which by the way it is, then I'd try, say, best or thebestapplerecipe.com, or even throw on a suffix, maybe apple recipe winners, or specific type of apple recipe like crab apple recipe. Again, use your imagination there. As a matter of fact, that's what we're going to be doing now, is checking into some tools that will help us with locating the perfect domain for our website. The first tool, and by the way, these are by all means not all the tools available out there. These are just some that I've had some personal experience with. And something else too, even though some of these tools may offer the option of purchasing the domain name right there from their site, hold off on that. I've got some additional tools for you later on in this video for purchasing the domain names. But the first one is psychicwhois.com. Just type in the name that you're wanting, and as you're typing, it will give you some suggestions, as well as when you're done typing, it'll tell you if the one you wanted is already taken or not. For example, Apple Recipe, as you can see here, the red guys, you got it. That means they're already gone. AppleRecipe.com, .net, .org, and .us are already taken. But you've got some additional options here that Psychic Who Is tells you is or is not already available. And by the way, unless you think otherwise, I would suggest sticking with just the .com for your domain names, because that's the most popular right now anyway. And they're looking at adding additional extensions as time rolls on, so there's going to be some pretty funky ones out there, like .money, and there's a lot more that are in the works. So for the time being, though, .com is the most popular, and that's one that I would be looking for. So that's Psychic Who Is, and you'll find that a lot of these tools are pretty much the same. Now, Bust a Name is a little more extensive. You can put in some keywords here, and it will do a lot of the research for you. And without spending a whole lot of time on this site, I'm just going to point you over to their video tutorials, and I would definitely check out Bust a Name, bookmark it, and use it. A cool tool is domainsbot.com. Like with Psychic Who Is, you just type in the name here, and it'll start spitting out some suggestions. But you've got some additional tools over here on the left that'll help you out even further too. Synonyms, prefixes, suffixes, all kinds of cool stuff. And you can see right here what is and what is not available. Domain Typer is another fun one. You can find that at domaintyper.com. It'll also spit out some of those funky extensions I was talking about earlier, like applerecipe.pi. Again, I would stay away from these. I would simply stick with the .coms for the time being. And these big bright red boxes, guess what? That means that particular extension is already taken. But if you want to find out more about it, you've got the ability to check out the site, the who is, meaning who owns it currently, and possibly throw them a line and see if they might consider, working out a deal with you. You can see how popular that current site is. That might give you an idea as to how much money they're going to be wanting for it if it's really popular, and so on. And another one here is Moniker. That's at moniker.com. It too has a whole lot of tools working with it, so add this to your bookmarks as well. Another great tool is noam.com, because one thing you should be looking at is brand recognition for your website. One of the most powerful ways to brand yourself or website is through social media. Plus, once you've established a connection or created an account on the social media sites that will complement your website and services, then you stand a greater chance of tapping into all that free traffic from these sites, as well as the search engine loving backlinks from these social sites to your website. Win, win, win. Noam.com is a site that can help establish a brand continuity with over 600 different social media sites. Once you've signed up for your free account, you can then check if your username is being used on any of the 600 social media sites that Noam.com monitors. This way, you'll have a better idea if one of the domain names you're wanting has already been used in a lot of these social media sites. Now you can make a more informed choice as to which domains to go with or to kick off your list. And then we have plenty of tutorials online here as far as how to go about establishing these connections. So by all means, check out noam.com. Now, as far as the actual purchasing of your domain name, my first suggestion would be Name Silo, mainly because of the price. It's not feature rich, but it is definitely fantastic as far as the price. It's one of the best ones you're going to find out there. There's no hidden fees, and it's $8.99 a year, and that's it. You can even get some discounts on there as well. But if you, for example, were to purchase your domain name from GoDaddy whenever they've got one of their sales going on, and you can get a .com, because again, you really only want to look for .coms. There may be reasons for you to look for other extensions, but I'm suggesting .com. But if you get a .com for, say, 99 cents for the first year, go ahead and purchase it through GoDaddy or whatever, and then after, say, 60 days or so, go ahead and transfer it over to a namesilo.com, and that way you're just getting an additional year added on to the year that GoDaddy gave you for whatever cost this is. And at the time of this recording, it's $8.99. So for $8.99 from Name Silo and the 99 cents you purchased it from, again, using this as an example, GoDaddy, you've now got 2 years paid for on your domain name, and it's now located at Name Silo. Again, it doesn't have a whole lot of features, but if features are what you're looking for and a great price, Namecheap is your company, because Namecheap is great. Their prices just went up recently. It's a little over $10 for a year, but they've also got some additional great services that NameSilo does not. For example, free SSL certificates for the first year. After that, they're really inexpensive too. But even then, you may want to hold off on buying a domain name until you check into web hosting, because some web hosting companies will offer a free domain name if you purchase a package through them. But web hosting is a video for another day. For the time being, though, this is going to bring us to an end on this video on domain names. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In order for you to own and build on a website, you're going to need at least a couple of things. You'll need a domain name. You'll need a tool to get or transfer files from your computer to your website and from your website to your computer. And you're going to need what is called web hosting. Web hosting is what allows individuals and organizations to make their websites accessible to others via the interweb, otherwise known as the World Wide Web. You can see that when you do a Google search here for web hosting, you're going to get over 500 million results popping back at you. So you can see there's no shortage of options to choose from. This video will help you in your search. While it is possible for you, the individual, to have your own hosting service on your own computer at your own home connected to the internet, that's not what I'm going to be talking about in this video, because 99.9% of you will be purchasing web hosting from a company that specializes in hosting websites. You know, kind of like your HostGators or DreamHost, or one of the other bazillion web hosting companies out there. Now, I'm a huge do-it-yourselfer, but hosting sites on my own computer, not so much. Now, before you purchase what you need, you should think a little bit about what you want. What is your end goal here for your website? Now, I know that there will be some changes as your site evolves, but in order for you to get started in the right direction, you should at least have a bit of a plan laid out first. For example, ask yourself these questions, and grab your pen and paper and write them down. What is my budget for getting things started? How long will that budget last without any income? Will I need a bunch of traffic just to break even? Will I sell things? And if so, what can I sell? Digital goods, physical goods, or both? Will you be hosting large file downloads? Will you have videos on your site? Will I need a secure connection in order to accept credit cards? These are just some of the questions you should write down and refer back to as you do the research for the hosting service you're looking for. Now, I want to first off point out a good resource to go to and a bookmark, and that's our buddies over at Wikipedia. Just do a search there for web hosting service and you'll end up over here. And if we scroll down a tad bit, and under types of hosting, these guys give a great demonstration of each type of possible web hosting you would be interested in. From the free that I would highly recommend not getting into, to the shared, which is the most popular and a great way to start things out. Next up would be the reseller web hosting, virtual dedicated server, or the VPS, virtual private server, dedicated hosting, and they give you a bit of a comparison between each of these. And this kind of starts off with the least expensive, that being free, and goes up to the most expensive, which is the co-location. Now, cloud hosting is kind of sort of one of the newer guys, and this is ideal for a lot of reasons, but it has a couple of drawbacks that may be deal breakers for you. So by all means, check into these as possible options. Now, one of the more popular services out there is called HostGator. I use HostGator. Actually, I use 4 different web hosting services, but that's information for a different video. But for the time being, I wanted to point out right here, big bold letters, unlimited. Don't let this be the carrot that brings you into buying their particular service. Nothing against HostGator, because if we check out another popular service, one that I use, they use that word quite a bit too. Unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited database. Well, the thing is, though, is that unlimited is not so unlimited. Whenever your site reaches a certain amount of resources being used or bandwidth being used, your site is going to get shut down, plain and simple. So don't let this be the only thing that draws you into buying their service. I don't want to say anything bad about HostGator or any of the other hosting services out there, because they all do that. I just want to bring it to your attention that unlimited does not mean unlimited. Now, one thing too you want to know is that even though you've been with a particular service for a long time, whether it's several months or several years. If you come to the point where you've either outgrown that particular service or you had several instances where you're not liking their customer support, don't think that you're chained down to that service just because they're watching your websites. No, you can always transfer to another one. Just as they say here at D9, and this is one of the things that I use them for, to actually transfer my reseller account from HostGator. I've got an individual hatchling plan with them now, but I had a reseller account with them and I had like 25, 26 different sites hosted on that reseller account. I moved them all over to D9 and they did it all for me. So it was like nothing that I had to do except for give them some names and some emails, and bing, bang, boom, they did all the heavy lifting for me. And it was totally free. So just know that you're not chained down to a particular service. If you find that their support or whatever reason you feel you should move, go ahead and move. Now, Rackspace has been around for quite a while, and one of their specialties is that cloud server that I was referring to earlier. The major plus to this is that the traffic spikes that you might encounter and that would get your site shut down on a D9 or a HostGator or a DreamHost or Bluehost, on a cloud server, not so much, because the cloud server uses the resources of many different servers, whereas other servers, the VPSs or the dedicated or the shared, they're using one server. And whether it's dedicated or shared, whenever your website hits that particular spike, boom, you're shut down. These guys, whenever you hit that particular spike, they share those resources out over other servers. So you never really experience a spike. You never get shut down as a result of using excessive resources. The drawback to a cloud type server is that they are being shared over several different servers. So if privacy is a big issue to you in that respect, I mean, they say that everything's secure, but comparing that to a dedicated server, which is on one physical location, and on a cloud server, it's over the course of several different physical locations. If that's the deal breaker for you, well, you should consider that in deciding on if you're going to move everything to the cloud or not. A couple of tools I want to mention here. Uptime Robot at uptimerobot.com. Totally free, and this is a service that will monitor and alert you when your site or sites are down. They'll send you an email or a text message, and if it happens enough times, you might want to consider that as a way of saying bye-bye HostGator or bye-bye DreamHost. Another neat tool is if you come across a site that loads super fast and you visit it regularly and you never see that it's down and you want to see who their hosting service is, this is the site you want to check out, whoishostingthis.com. Just put in their website here and it'll give you all those details. Hopefully this video will answer a lot of those questions that you wrote down earlier in helping you determine which hosting service or which hosting package and service is best for you. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on web hosting. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day. There are tons of FTP programs, both free and premium, or otherwise known as paid programs. In the category of free FTP client programs, there's one that stands out and above the crowd. It's called FileZilla. This video is going to cover the downloading and basic installation of FileZilla. Now, technically, FileZilla is a donationware type of software, meaning you can use it for free all you want, but the creators would very much like for you to donate some money to them if you like using the program. Now, not only is this great karma for you, but it also helps provide money for future updates and support. So without further ado, let's head on over to the FileZilla website to get our software. And we're looking for FileZilla-project.org. And you're going to end up at a page like this, and you've got a couple of options here, well, a couple of major options. That's the client or the server. Now, when talking about File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, there are two ends of the transfer process. The server end, where the files are on the internet, and the client end, where the files are on our computer. So most all of us will only need the client portion of the FileZilla software. So we first off want to just check out the client, so we want to click on that. Oh, and by the way, you may want to bookmark this page here. That way you can refer back to this to cover anything that I may not cover or skim over in this video. Well, let's go ahead and head over to the client. As you saw there, it covers all platforms. Now we want to decide on which platform we have, and of course that's something that you'll have to answer for yourself. My operating system is Windows, and if something says recommended, that's the one you probably want to go with, more times than not anyway. Now if you're using a Macintosh operating system, then you've got these options to choose from here. but or Linux, don't want to leave you guys out of the picture, but I'm going to go with this guy here because that's the one that's recommended. Go ahead and click on that and get their advertising stuff out of the way. Now I've got it set up on my system to download all of my downloads to my downloads directory on my computer. You may have yours set up some other way, but that's just how mine is set up. The executable file here has a parentheses and the 1 there because I've already got this particular file in my system right here, along with a lot of other older ones. Yeah, I've been using this for a while. So let's go ahead and skip this because I've already got it downloaded right here, but you get the idea on downloading it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that out. Let's head on over to my downloads folder. Okay, so here's my downloads. Come on down here to this guy here. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to run as administrator. This guy pops up and you may get a different type of message depending upon, your operating system. I'm using Windows 7. Click on yes. And then I get this guy to pop up. Click on agree. Of course, you want to read all this fancy stuff first, but click on agree. And anyone who uses this computer, that's totally up to you, however you want to do this. Click on next. And I just go with the default settings. That's always fine for me. Now let's go ahead and throw a desktop icon on there. And as you can see, as we hover over these, it gives you a little description over here. So if you're not sure about it, just untick it. But this all looks good to me. And click on next. And unless you know what you're doing, I would leave it as far as the default location of the destination folder. Click on next and click on next, and it's installing away. And let's go ahead and start that guy. And here we are. That's how simple it is to download and install your FileZilla FTP software. Now in closing, I want to say that when there is an update to FileZilla, this is one of the cool things I like about this, besides the fact you can't beat the price, is that when you open up your client software and there is a new version of FileZilla, you're going to be given the option to update instantly, or you can manually update later. Totally up to you. I just do the instant because it takes less than a minute and I'm back to work with an updated program. Simple assignment. That is the end of this video on downloading and installing the FileZilla FTP software. Thanks for watching. You have a great day. In order for you to have, build on, and maintain a website, you're going to need at least a domain name, a web hosting account, and some means of transferring files back and forth between your computer and your website. Now, once you have purchased your domain name and have a web hosting account, you need to assign your domain to that hosting account. That's what we're going to be doing in this video, connecting your domain to your hosting service. Now, when you purchase your web hosting service, you're sent some important information about your hosting account. Usually it's sent to you through an email. Now, among this information is what is called the name servers. These name servers need to be added to your domain name account in order for the internet to know that the domain is yours, and this also allows the world to see your soon-to-be totally awesome website. Now, while this might sound really techy, it's very simple to do, as you're about to see. Now, you're going to need the email or the info that your hosting company sent you when you first purchased their services, and you'll need to log into your domain account. Now, let me just give you a couple of examples of the emails that I had received from the various hosting services that I've been using. For example, here's one for Lunar Pages. And the one that I got from Lunar Pages was a real long email, and in amongst that information was one that said domain name instructions. It was really long, and at some segment in that long email was this little bit of info here titled domain name instructions. And this is the name servers that need to be added to our domain name registrar, and I'll get to that here in just a second. I just want to point out what to look for. Now, some domain name registrars, none that I've ever used, but some of them will require you to also have an IP address along with the name servers. Lunar Pages supplies that to you right here. Some of the other ones that I'm about to show you, not so much. You just kind of got to dig around for them. Now, this one here is one that I got from Namecheap. Now, Namecheap I also use for domain names, but they've also got a pretty cool and very inexpensive hosting account as well. And this one, again, was a really long email, so you see I kind of cut out some of the parts here so I can squeeze it into the video here. But in amongst this information was a little segment that said name server information. And as you can see, these guys, kind of like these guys here, starts off with something NS, or as in this case with Namecheap, it starts off with DNS 1 and then DNS2. Now, most all of them, at least those that I've ever used, only require 2 name servers. Some of them, though, will require more. I've never encountered those just yet, but, I've only been doing this for about 5 years. So I'm sure that they're out there because they do offer spaces for them, as you're about to see. And this one here I got from my most recent hosting account called D9. And they're an awesome group, by the way, but I don't want to get into a sales pitchy thing about this. But anyway, again, a real long email, and one of the segments in here, segment 3, gives me the primary name server and the secondary name server. And they also give you the IP addresses here, just like they had noted on the one from Lunar Pages here. But like with Lunar Pages, this one starts off with NS and then 25, NS 26, and so on. But again, I only need these 2 for the domain registrars that I've used. And last but not least, the one that I've got from HostGator, which again is kind of a long email, but not as long as these other ones were. But in amongst some of this information here, they give me the name servers. As you can see here, it starts off with NS like these other ones did, 253, and then the next one, or the secondary name server, is NS254. So these are the emails that I received over time. So if your hosting account is with one of these companies, then this gives you a better idea as to what to hunt down in the emails. Now, of course, if you don't have these or have no idea where they're at, no big deal. You just need to contact the hosting company that you're using and have them send them to you. And if you've got a pretty decent support system with that hosting company, you might even try calling them up. That might save you some time. Or just send them an email and call them, however you want to do it, but just get it. And once you get it, make sure that you save it in a place you're going to know where it's at. A little organizational tip there for you. So let's head on over to, let's say, Namecheap, and let me demonstrate where we're going to be changing out our name servers. And once we log in, we're going to come to this page here. Then we come on up here to Domains, go over to My Account, Manage Domains. Let's pick this domain here. And right up here, Domain Name Server Setup. Just click on that. And you'll see here right below that we've got this option where it says transfer DNS back to us. You're only going to see this if you've already changed the DNS from the default that Namecheap adds whenever you first purchase the domain from them to another web hosting service, which I've already done. But let's go ahead and click on this. As you can see, I've already moved this particular domain over to the D9 hosting service. And these are the 2 name servers that were sent to me in that email that I just showed you earlier. So depending upon your hosting account and the information they gave you in that email, you'd want to just enter those here, the primary or the first one or the lower number in that sequence. If they give you one that has different numbers, like if it's NS1 or NS2, NS1 goes here, NS2 goes here. Or in this case, 25, then 26. Then click on Save Changes, and you're done. That's simple. Let's check out NameSilo. It's another domain name registrar that I use. Then once I log in at NameSilo, I end up at a page like this. Come on over to Domain Manager, and you can see right here where I've got a list of all the domains. One of the categories right here is the name servers that are assigned to this particular domain already. So let's go ahead and check that box, at which point these guys up here are highlighted. I come on up here and click on Change Name Servers. Again, pretty simple so far. And then right here is where we enter the primary name server and the secondary name server that, again, was sent to you in their email. And with NameSilo, they also give me an option to add an additional layer of security called Domain Defender. So before any changes take part here, I can have things set up to where there's a question that I've established along with the appropriate answer. And then once that's entered properly, then click on Submit right here, and then the changes will take effect. And there you go. See how easy that was? And completely painless. Now it's just a matter of time. Depending upon your web hosting service, the internet might be able to see your domain in a couple of minutes, or as most hosting companies will tell you, between 24 and 72 hours before your domain is able to be seen on the web, as well as you not being able to access the control panel for that domain. So you should always figure that it will take, at the most 3 days before you can see your website, so that when you can actually see it in under 10 minutes, which with me has been most of the time, you will be much more happier than, the other way around. So plan on it taking 3 days, and it will more than likely only take a few minutes. rather than you planning on it taking a few minutes and it ends up taking 3 days. So that's the end of this video on name servers and connecting your domain to your web hosting account. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In order for you to have, build on, and maintain a website, you're going to need at least a domain name, a web hosting account, and some means of transferring files back and forth between your computer and your website. Now, once you have purchased your domain name, purchased your web hosting service, and you've assigned the name servers from your hosting service to your domain name, you're going to need to have login access to your server and FTP. When you purchase your web hosting service, you're sent some important information about your hosting account, and among this information is the login details for your FTP and server. Now, your server, what I'm referring to there, is the control panel, and that can be one of a couple of different options. I myself am most familiar with and really love cPanel as my control panel. Another one is Plesk, and there's a few other ones out there that are a little less popular but still basically do the same thing, only do it differently. Now, when you connected your hosting service to your domain name, you use some info that your hosting service sent you when you first purchased their services. Now, more than likely in that same email should also be the login details for your FTP and control panel for your server. Now, this is what it might look like. And of course, if you cannot locate it, then simply contact your hosting company and have them send it to you again. Now, this is one that I received from D9. And it was a rather long email, and they had it sectioned off into several different segments. This is number 4. Now, D9 Hosting is a fantastic hosting service, but depending upon your hosting service, it may look a little bit different, and for that matter, they may send you different login type credentials. For example, on the host name for D9, this is the way it looks. It starts off with www, then the actual domain name .com. Sometimes, but not always, it might also begin with FTP, or for a secure login for FTP, it might even be SFTP, S as in Sam, FTP, not the www. Then they also give you the username and password. Now, like it says here, an alternative might also be the IP address in place of the actual domain name here. Let me show you one that I also received from Namecheap. And Namecheap's pretty well known for their domain names, but they also have a hosting account as well. And this, like with D9, is a rather long email, so I just kind of cut chunks of it out that didn't really pertain to this. And this is an example of a different type of login where they give me, instead of the host name here as the actual www. Then the domain name, the host name here is the actual IP address, then the username, then the password. And down here they've also got a similar login method using the IP address as the server address, just like here as the host name. And then the username is actually this username here with the @ symbol, and then the domain name, then the password, and then this is for a passive mode. Now, if you wanted an active mode, and with Namecheap, it might require contacting them to have them set that for active. And this video is not about the difference between active and passive mode for FTP. This is just about getting your login information. So I might cover that in an upcoming video. Now, this should go without saying, but hey, I'm going to say it anyway. You should have some type of organization in place to help keep these important login details where you know where they're going to be. Whether it's something fancy like with a mind map or a spreadsheet type programs, or just some simple text document. Having this information organized and in a safe place will save you loads of time, and even more so as you gain more domains. So organize now, save time later. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. Hi, this video will demonstrate how to connect your FileZilla client software to your hosting account server, basically your website. Now at this point, I'm hoping you already have downloaded and installed your FileZilla client program. Otherwise, this video may seem a bit confusing. So let's open up FileZilla and grab the FTP login details that was sent to us by our web hosting company. We'll bring this into the picture here. Now, depending upon the service that you're using, the web hosting service you're using, will depend upon exactly how the information looks, the login details that they sent you. For example, this is one that I received from Namecheap Hosting, and in one instance, they've got the FTP. This is the server or hosting name that goes in here, and they've got it in the form of an IP address, which will work just fine. And one that I received from my D9 hosting, totally different, but it still works the same. The host name that, like here they have just listed as FTP, is in the form of a URL. Now sometimes this does not have a www in front, it has an FTP. Sometimes it also has an SFTP for these secure transmissions, but you still have the username and the password. Now if you're confused about what your particular login details are from your hosting account, just give them a buzz or just send them an email and ask them. But at least ways now you've got a pretty good idea as to what's required. You're going to need at least 3 things: the host or server name, the username, and the password. Now 99.99% of the time the port you can just leave blank or just put in 21. Now I'll just kind of go over the FileZilla software interface here, and for the most part you're going to find this to be pretty much the same no matter what FTP client software you're using. For the most part, on the left hand side here you've got your computer or the local side, like it says here, and on the right hand side you've got the server or the remote side. Now up here at the top you've got the main software toolbar, and there's a whole lot more to this FTP software than just transferring files from your computer to the host. But in this video we're just going to be covering the connection process. Then next right here we've got what's called the Quick Connect server bar, and you can either connect through this to your server or you can go up here from File, go to Site Manager, and set things up here. This would be more of a permanent basis, whereas this would be more of a temporary. Now, either way will work just perfectly as far as getting connected to your web hosting server. Now, this area right in here really doesn't do a whole lot for you, but it's called the FTP message log area. And for the techies, there are some details in here that might help you understand more about what's going on. And down here at the very bottom, and you can always scroll these guys up and down to give more room for the area that you're more interested in seeing or gaining access to. But down here we've got the file transfer queue, and you've got some additional tabs down here that will tell you about all the files, the failed transfer files, and the successful transfer files. So that's a quick look at what's going on here. Let's go ahead and get connected. Now again, you can either use the Quick Connect, and if you use the Quick Connect, then the information that you put in here is stored over here if you hit that drop down arrow. Of course, this being a new install, there are none. But if you were to put in the connection for one of your domains and successfully connect, then you can hit this drop down arrow and it'll be listed in here. You would then just select that, click on Quick Connect, and like the name implies, boom, you're quickly connected. Likewise, if you have multiple entries in here, maybe you've got several different domain names and you use the Quick Connect for connection to all of those servers, then you'll see an ongoing list here of all those servers you've connected to. Again, just select the one you want to connect to, click on Quick Connect, bing, bang, boom, you're there. Another way, and again what I consider more of a permanent way, is come on up here to File, go to Site Manager, come on down here and click on New Site, give it a name. Again, try to keep things as organized as possible. And as soon as you click on New Site, you're going to see all these other options become available. Now, a lot of this is pretty self-explanatory, but again, right now I'm just covering the basics. And I just want to enter in the host name, and I'm going to leave the port alone because for the most part, it'll work just fine if it's blank. But again, 21 is what goes in there. And I'm going to put in the host name here, copy and paste. And for the protocol, in this case, we're going to just leave it at FTP. And for the encryption, we're just going to leave that alone. And for the login type, we're going to go to normal. And for the user and the password, those are the other 2 items of the 3 that we need to successfully log in that we received from our hosting account. And let's go ahead and put in here. And the password thusly. And click on Connect. And of course you've got a spot here for any comments. If, say for example, if this particular FTP account was set up for someone doing some work like an outsourcer or something, then you might want to put in a comment here, delete at this date or something like that. You can see up here that whatever this stuff means, that it happened and that we are successfully connected. And that's it. That is how you can connect your FTP client software, in this case FileZilla, to your server, and a little bit of a breakdown of the different parts of the FileZilla user interface. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, we're going to use FileZilla to make a secure connection to our host server. Now, the obvious reason to use a secure connection in transferring files to and from your computer and server is to help prevent the bad people from accessing your files. Now, as soon as you see just how easy it is to connect securely and your hosting service is set up for secure transfers, then I frankly don't see any reason why you would want to transfer your files any other way. Okay, let's go ahead and open up FileZilla and grab the login details that was sent to us from our hosting company. Now, you can do this one of two ways, either hooking up through the Quick Connect bar or through Site Manager. In Site Manager, you can access that, by the way, by clicking on the File option in the menu, and then clicking on Site Manager. And here you would just want to click on New Site and set this one up for secure, or name it whatever you want. And I'm going to name it Secure Demo. Then just click anywhere in this box here to deselect it. And then over here in the host section, and this holds true if you're going to be using the Quick Connect bar here, but in the host section, if you were given, say, FTP dot or www dot in the host name, for example, this was given to me by my hosting company. In this case, if we're going to be connecting securely, you want to exclude that prefix because FileZilla will fill it in for you. Now then, at this point, you want to go ahead and put in port 22, whereas before, if you're using the normal protocol, then you can leave that blank or just put in 21. But in this case, we're going to put in 22. And under protocol, you want to select the SFTP. And then the rest of this is just as it would be normally. Select normal for login type, put in the username and password, and then any notes down here that you might want to put in if you want to. And then click on connect. And up here you'll see the progress if you're going to connect or not. And as you can see here, we are now securely connected. So really there's not much difference in the connection process of the secure method versus the non-secure method. So as I said, why would you want to do it unsecured if the process is basically the same? And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on making a secure connection with FileZilla. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. This video is going to demonstrate just how easy it is to transfer files to your server from your computer and from your server back down to your computer. First, we're going to open up FileZilla and connect to the server. And we can connect to our server either through the Quick Connect bar or through our Site Manager that we can access through the File menu button. Go to Site Manager. And if you've already got some set up in here, just select the one that you want to connect to and then click on Connect. Now, when you've successfully connected, and you'll know that because you'll see stuff over here and it'll say so right here, you're going to see your computer, that's the local site on the left-hand side, and your server or the remote site on the right-hand side. Now, on your server, you are by default opening to the root of your server, not the root of your website. That is, of course, if you have a website yet. And you can tell that you're in the root because you got this / right there. Now, most web hosting companies tell you which directory you should upload your site files to, and you get that information in that initial email that includes your login stuff whenever you first purchase that web hosting service. Now, in this case, it's the public_HTML directory. And if we scroll down just a bit here, you can see it's right here. You can also see this if we hit the plus button there to expand these. And these question marks, by the way, tell you that these directories have not been opened up yet in this particular session. And there we are. And just click on that. And it opens up all the files that we have in our public_HTML. And if you're just starting out, then you probably don't have anything in here except for the file icon up here and a couple of dots off to the right of it. But as you can see, I've already got a few files and folders in here. Now, sometimes it's not the public_HTML directory. Maybe on your web service, it's the HTML doc directory or even the www. But if you're not sure and cannot locate that info on that email that you got originally, then just contact your web hosting service and find out. Now that we've got all that figured out, let's go ahead and start transferring some files. And as far as the process, it's pretty simple. I mean, you got a couple of different ways you can do it. For example, if I want to transfer, and you can see that they are in alphabetical order for the most part. But if I want to transfer this FileZilla.xml file over to the server here, and that'll be in the public_HTML directory, then I can just right-click on it And in this drop-down list here, I just left-click on the upload, and you can see the process as it takes place. And here it is, right here. Let me go ahead and delete that. Right-click, left-click on delete. Are you sure? Yes. Another way you can upload this or transfer this file, you just left-click, hold, and drag this on over here, and then let go. Same thing, easy as pie. And you can do the same thing not just with individual files, but with an entire folder, or even with multiple folders or files. For example, if I select this one, hold the Shift key down on my keyboard, and then select this guy here, it's going to transfer this single file as well as these 3 directories and all the files contained in there. Now, if there are duplicate files or directories already on the server, then I'm going to get a pop-up box here asking if I want to overwrite those particular files or give me other instructions as to what I want to do with that particular conflict. And in addition to transferring from your computer to your server, you can do the exact same thing from your server to your computer. Just make sure that you are in the proper directory on your computer as to where you want the file to go. For example, if I want to make room and just get rid of this guy here, just delete it. And just as I did from the computer to the server, I just select the file I want to download from the server to the computer, right-click, left-click on download, or left-click, hold, and drag it on over. And there it is. And to demonstrate that error message I was talking about, if we just left-click, hold, and drag it on over, this is the box that pops up and gives us actions that it wants us to do, whether we want to resume, rename, skip it, overwrite it if it's different. And we can also check this box here if we want it to always do this particular action that we're going to describe here. And you can see the other information here as well, depicting both the file on the server and the file that it's going to be interacting with on the computer or the local site. We'll go ahead and cancel that out. Now, in addition to transferring files from the left pane or the local site here, you can also do it from your Windows Explorer. Let me demonstrate. And here is my Windows Explorer. This is the desktop here. And if I want to just drag this folder into the server, same exact thing. And by the way, when I say folder, directory, I use those terms interchangeably, so for me, they both mean the same thing. I just find it difficult to say one and not the other. And let me see, that was site name 1 or 2. There we are, right there. Open that up, and you can see, and by the way, I just double-clicked on that to open it up. But you can see it transferred not just that directory, but all the contents as well. And you can also right-click and left-click on Enter Directory, and it'll open it up. But I find it just as easy just to double-click on the directory to open it up. And that is how you can transfer files both to your server from your computer and to your computer from your server. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. This video will show you how to edit live files while they are still on your server. So if your favorite editor is Notepad or Notepad++ or Edit Plus 3 or even Dreamweaver or Composer, this video will walk you through the process. So let's go ahead and open up FileZilla and get started. Now, first off, we want to head on over to our settings menu. We do that by coming up over to the Edit option in our menu bar. Go to Settings. I'm already logged in too, by the way. We want to head on down to the File Editing and then click on File Type Association. That's this guy right here at the very bottom. And if it's collapsed, then you just want to expand it and then click on File Type Associations. And as you can see here, I've already associated this one with my Notepad, but I'm going to change that to Edit Plus 3. And as you can see, as it explains down here, what you want to do is you want to put out the extension of the file type you're going to want to edit with this particular program. In this example, for my PHP files, I currently have it set up to be editing the PHP files with Notepad. I want that to be with the Edit Plus 3. And maybe I want HTML files to be edited with Dreamweaver. You can do the same process that I'm showing you here to accomplish that with the HTML extension. Or with, say, an image like a PNG or a JPG. Maybe you want those to be edited with something else. So what we want to do first is find the path to that particular program. And again, in this case, I'm looking for the path for my Edit Plus 3. And to find the path to that program, you go over to your Start button in the lower left corner of your monitor, and you click on that, and in the search box, and of course this varies depending upon the operating system you're working with, but the search box on my Windows 7 is just above the Start bar at the very bottom of the box. And in there where it says Search Programs and Files, type in the name of the program you're looking for. In my example, it's Edit Plus 3. Then when you see the program showing up in the list, you right-click on it and then click on Properties. Then you want to make sure you're in the shortcut area of the Properties, and you're looking for the target. So you just want to copy that, and by default it's probably already selected. So using the shortcut keys on your keyboard, hold the Control key down on your keyboard and then hit the letter C as in cat, or copy. Or you can just make sure that you select it all, then right click and then copy that to your clipboard. Then you come on over here, and where you've got the file extension, right after that you want to paste in the path that you just copied, like so. Then click on OK. Now let's find us a PHP file and open it in our Edit Plus 3 program. And if I can find, let's see here, public_HTML, there should be something in here. Yeah, it's XML. Here's an index.php. It's got something in there. So I'm going to right click, View Edit, and there it is, Edit Plus, and you would get the same exact options if you were to use your particular program of choice, be it Notepad, Notepad++, or whatever program that you associated with whatever extension. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on how to edit live files using FileZilla. In this video, we're going to cover how to resume the file transfer in the event of a stoppage by your computer getting turned off, or the FTP software crashes, or basically anything else that would halt the transfer before it actually completes. So let's go ahead and open up FileZilla and log into our server. And just a quick reminder, on the left we've got our local or the computer, and on the right we've got the remote or the server area. And I'm just going to use a quick connect here to connect to our server. And I want to scroll on down here, find me a decent sized file, go into public HTML, and where we got one here, I think I got one about 10 megabytes in size. Yeah, here we are. And I'm going to put that right here in my working folder on my desktop. And let's go ahead and right click and then left click on download. Hum da hum da hum da hum. Everything's going fine and dandy, birds are chirping, great day outside. Then all of a sudden, bam, something happens and my site crashes, or the computer goes off, or FileZilla crashes. Whatever the case, something bad happened. So I need to reopen after I get everything else kind of fixed and whatnot. Go ahead and reopen my FileZilla. And now if it were a small file, no big deal. Just go ahead and start it over again, right? But what if it's a large file, 100, 200 megabytes in size or larger, and it was, say, halfway done? Rather than having to go through the process of downloading it again from the beginning, go ahead and log back in. And one of the key items here is to make sure that you're on the same area in the local as you were prior to the crash. Go ahead and log back in here. And of course you want to be in the same area on the remote, which is kind of goes without saying. Come on down here, find that file again. And you can do this a couple of ways actually. You can just go ahead and right click here and then left click on download, and it's going to recognize that, hey, it's already there. You come on over here and just click on resume, click on OK, and it will pick up where it left off at. Or crash again. Darn my luck. Let's go ahead and go on back and open up FileZilla again. Let's go ahead and log back in. And another way where you can just do it automatically rather than that two-step process where that one screen popped up asking us what do we want to do. Well, we can kind of eliminate that one step by coming up here to Edit, go into Settings, come on down to Transfers. And if it's not expanded like this, just hit the plus sign and it'll open up. We want to go to File, Exists, Action. And right up here on Downloads, Ask for Action. That's that box that popped up. And Upload, same thing happens there. For downloads, come on down here, and basically you're removing that Ask for Action box, and in place of it, resume file transfer. And again, you can do the same thing for uploads as well. Click on OK. Now then, let's go ahead and resume by going to the same location we were. I think we're at about 60% done here or so. Open that up, navigate to the location of that file that did not get finished, and right click and download, and it picks it up right where it's left off at. So those are the two different ways in which you can resume a file transfer in the event it kind of crashed midway through. That's going to bring us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. This video is going to show you how to export and import your FileZilla settings and the site manager information. Now let's put on our pretend hat just for a second, and let's pretend that we've got a whole bunch of custom settings in our FileZilla, and we've got a bazillion different domains set up in our My Sites section of the site manager, and we just purchased a new laptop or a new computer, and we don't want to go through all the headaches of setting up all these things manually in the new computer. Well, fret not, because you don't have to. Let's go ahead and delete these guys. Oh, wait, we got to export first before we put on our pretend hat. Okay, so close that out, and what we want to do is come up here to File, go to Export, choose the items that you want to export. Now there's nothing in the queue down here, so we don't have to check that. We want to export settings, in case you've got any custom settings in here, server, transfer, bookmarks, whatnot. And we want to export all the goodies from our site manager. Click on OK. And it asks us where do we want to download our little XML file to, and it gives it a little FileZilla name. You can name it whatever you want, but as long as you leave it as an XML file. Click on Save. Boom, done, good. And now then, we want to come on in here to our site manager, delete that guy, yep, delete this guy, yep. And now then, we want to pretend that we are on a brand new computer, and we've downloaded and installed our brand new FileZilla software. Let me go ahead and disconnect here from the server. Oh, okay, we're good. Actually, let's just restart FileZilla from scratch. There we go. Now then, let's just check out our site manager. Come on up here, and we can see there's nothing in there. And click on Cancel. Now then, we come on up here to File again, and where we exported it, now we just want to import it. And we want to navigate to the location where we've got our little FileZilla.xml file stashed away. And select that, click on Open. And it asks us what do we want to do here. And that's been done. It says we have to restart FileZilla, but really we don't. Anyway, just click on OK. And the selected categories have been imported. Cool. OK, and now then if we just come on up here to File, Site Manager, there they are. And you can see all the settings are the same. Click on Connect, and we're good to go. And that is how you can save a whole lot of time, especially if you've got a whole lot of information in the original location of your FileZilla software. You can now export and then import all of that data into your new FileZilla installation. Thanks for watching. You have a great day. In most web hosting servers, you are able to view and edit what are called the hidden files, kind of like your .htaccess file and other files that begin with a dot. See, these are very important files, and by default, they're hidden from not just you, the site owner, but more importantly, they're hidden from all the web browsers and those people that would want to do harm to your websites, the hackers. But FileZilla has a feature that in most cases can force the hidden file to be shown. Here, let's go ahead and open up FileZilla and log into the server so I can show you what I mean. And let's use the Quick Connect. Now mine is already set up to show the hidden files, and that's these guys here. They all begin with a dot. And more importantly, the .htaccess file. And you may see other ones in your website's root directory, but for the most part, this is the guy here that you would want to be doing some editing to, and of course you'd want to be able to see it to do that. Now if you log in to your root directory and you cannot see any of these guys, then assuming that they do exist, you can come on up here to Server and just make sure that guy is checked. Force showing hidden files. And that's in the version 3X of FileZilla. If you've got an older version of FileZilla, which you shouldn't, but if you do happen to have a version in the 2s, then that same option is going to be located over here under View, where you would have these check boxes here, and one of them would say Force Show Hidden Files, like this guy here. Now, if you untick that, that doesn't mean they're going to go away, because my server happens to allow them to be shown. But if yours doesn't, a lot of times this little trick will force them in. You might get this box to pop up, and it tells you basically what I just said. Click on OK. And if they weren't there before and they are there now, cool. If they aren't there now, then you may want to just go ahead and contact your web hosting service and ask them how can you get those hidden files, especially your .htaccess file, to be shown so you can not only view it but also edit it. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on having FileZilla force those hidden files to be shown. Thanks for watching. You have a great day.